Hi and hello everyone. Let me tell you, I missed you guys very, very much. But then you could understand. COVID-19 has taken over and has set all of us to be on lockdown. How are you? And let me hope you're doing well. Following all the protocols and you're still being alive, and I'm happy to be back here. Happy New Year! And let me hope you also had a very good Christmas. And the new year started out in a happy one. And I'm happy to see all of you again. Let's continue to follow protocol. Let's continue to trust God. And I am sure soon COVID will come to an end. In fact, there's a vaccine. And some people say they will. Some people say they won't take it. But let me tell you, I am going to take it because I'm tired of COVID. And better yet, I believe the first 2 men in Jamaica to take the COVID vaccine would have to be me and Andrew Ones. What do you think? I think so. All right. I got a good one for you for the new year, and I think it is really nice, and I enjoyed it. And the Lord has given me this one for you. I want to look at the opportunities of life. And what do you do with the opportunities of life that is being lent to you or awarded to you? What do you do with it? Let me give you something. God had set up rules and regulation for man to follow. Listen to some of the rules. Some of the rules is for you to live good with your fellow man. Simply to live good with one another. Other of the rules has to do with the spiritual side of your life. In other words, how you worship God and how you do things that would make God feel pleased. So here's the thing. You were made to accept God at a very free will. Nobody has to tell you nor force you. However, people can strongly urge you and tell you. But you're free to make a decision whether you want to serve God or if you don't want to serve God. So here is the thing. If you want to serve God, there's a commandment set for you. If you want to live good with one another, there's also another command that is there for you. So here's the thing. When you look at the 10 commandments, the very first 4 commandments, if you believe in Jesus or if you believe in God and you want to serve Him, those 4 commandments are for you to serve Him. But let's say you're one of the guys who would say there is no God. Let's say you're one of the guys who don't believe in God. Then the last 6 commandments would have been for you. So whether you accept God or you don't accept God, you're required to live by the last 6 commandments of the 10. If you believe in God, you're required to go all 10 of them. So therefore, if you believe that there is not a God, and you don't want to worship a God, if you don't believe that after this life that you're living, then there's another one, you're cool to make your own decision in that direction. However, you're still required by the law of God to follow the last 6 commandments. And listen, even if you want to disobey God with the last 6 commandments, the government will hold you accountable for them. So you can live a good life, yet does not want to be in the kingdom of God. So I am saying, let's not take a life. Let's live a life. And we can do that. Jesus told a parable of a rich man and a poor man in the book of St. Luke. And it started by saying, a certain St. Luke chapter 16 verses 22 onward. It said, a certain rich man. And it didn't tell you the man's name. And every time, it's interesting when you read the Bible, it likes to call some people a certain man without giving the man a name. For whatever reason, he was not named. But what we know is that he was a rich man. Then the next person in the parable is a gentleman, another certain man. But here's the thing now. When it comes to this certain man, the Bible calls his name Lazarus. So we have 2 characters. One, a rich man. And he's a certain man, so we don't have his name. All we have is a rich man. And can I tell you something? Even today, when we know people rich, we often rather call them rich man rather than call them by their name. But normally when we see people who are poor, we hardly say we see a poor man and don't go anywhere. We normally like to say him and call the name. So here it calls his name Lazarus. So the parable is about a rich man and Lazarus. In this life that we are living, we can choose to become what we want to become. So the rich man, he chooses to become rich. And that means he would have worked hard, and he would have put everything in place because he wanted to be wealthy. Whilst this poor man by the name of Lazarus, I am not sure why he became poor. Because we all got the potential to become whatever we want to become. Because God has given us the opportunity of life. And let me tell you something, friends. We must appreciate life, you know. We must. And we must live life every day to live out our days. So here is the opportunity. You can become what you want to become. The rich guy, he wants to become rich. So you know what he does? He's going to work harder than the man who doesn't want to become rich. He's going to think more than the guy who doesn't want to become rich. So he's rich. Lazarus is poor. But look at both of them now. Lazarus' name means God has helped. The rich man doesn't have a name, so he doesn't have a meaning. Lazarus believed that after this life, then there will come another life. In other words, Lazarus knew that living right now, right here on earth, with all its opportunity, he believed that one day we are going, life, no matter how we see it, our destiny is going to fix and end up with death. But Lazarus believes in another life after death when the Bible promises a resurrection. The rich man, he didn't believe that. There are many folks like the rich man. Let me tell you what they do. Many folks like the rich man, they say to themselves that this is world without end. Meaning that you just live, you just dead, and then a set of people come up, and it just go on and on and on. But the Bible teaches that after this life, Jesus will come back again and will make a new world, a new order, and we'll live in peace and harmony. The rich man didn't believe that. But Lazarus, being the poor man, he believed that. So Lazarus' life was set up like this now. He didn't bother himself too much about this worldly goods. Because he knows, the songwriter said, a tent or a cottage. Oh, why should I care? When Jesus is building for me a palace over there. Let me tell you more. Jesus said, let not your heart be troubled. He believed in me in my Father's kingdom. So the poor man, he puts his life on those promises that Jesus made. I'm going to tell you something more. Jesus said it's better for you to have one eye or one leg in this life, because when he comes back, he's going to make those legs come back wholesome and new again. Lazarus believed that. And let me tell you better yet, I believe it. So the rich man lives only for this life, but Lazarus lives for beyond this life. And I'm wondering which one you want to be. You want to be like the rich man, just living for this life, or you want to be like Lazarus, living in this life for the next life to come. So here's the thing now. Lazarus was laid at the gate of the rich man. I want you to follow me carefully. He was laid there. In other words, he did not go there by himself. He was led to the gate and was left there. Gives the impression that Lazarus must have been, should I say handicapped, or less fortunate? But it's quite clear that his movable part of his body, something must have been wrong with it, because he was placed there. Now when he was placed at the rich man gate, the rich man had to pass Lazarus at all time to go into his palace. And the saddest part about it is that he never paid any attention to this poor man at his gate. You know, sometimes I watch and see where some poor people is having problem with sickness or with their children's sickness, and they're asking for financial help. And would you believe it? Would you believe it? That when they ask for financial help, there are some people who are rich. They just need like $1 million. And it's poor people to poor people that comes up with that million. The rich guy never would said, okay, I'm going to give you half or 3/4. They never contribute to these things. It's always poor people contributing to poor people. What's wrong with the rich guy and his money to help poor people? So this rich man, he never helped Lazarus. Lazarus was at his gate. But here is the thing now. Though Lazarus was unable to move and sitting down at his gate, he would pass him, go in, past him, comes out, and he would never. And the Bible said that Lazarus was desiring to be fed. Serious thing that now, man. He was desiring to be fed. In other words, he's just dying for something to eat. Yet this rich man passed him by. I was saying that the time has come, my friends, when we who got it more than some other people, we must look out for the less fortunate ones. And we should give them something to eat. We should try to help them and to bring them up from the state that they are in. He never paid Lazarus any mind. But you know something, friend? He was there because he was unable to move. He was there because he could not fend for himself. But he was there with one thing on his mind, that Jesus Christ one day will take him out of that situation. Let me tell you something. It is never suggested that Lazarus murmured. It was never suggested that he complained. In other words, watching Lazarus sit at the rich man's gate, watching the rich man go by past him, he was so hungry, needed to be fed, but you never heard of him murmuring. You never hear of him complaining. You know, some people would have murmured. Some people would have complained. But Lazarus didn't do that. You know what is even more fascinating? It's the same thing with Jesus. When Jesus was sentenced to be crucified, no matter how they beat him, no matter how they spat on him, you know something? He never complained. He never complained. He never even murmured or muttered anything. He never complained. I am saying to you today, friends like myself, we are poor people and we have the opportunities of life and we are living. But when we make Jesus become the forefront of our lives, when we make Jesus become the center and the backbone of our life, then you won't find us murmuring. You won't find us complaining. However, but people would still look at us because we are not murmuring, because we are not complaining. They would have it to believe that all is well with us. But friends, all many times it's not well with us. Oftentimes, we would desire to eat some things and it's not there. Oftentimes we would have wanted to go places, but we can't go. But we just don't murmur, because with Jesus in the vessel, we can always smile at the storm. So therefore, Lazarus, the poor man, he wished that even the crumbs that fell from the rich man's table, even the crumbs that fell from the rich man's table. Can you imagine that? He would be so happy just for crumbs falling from the rich man's table. And all the rich man had was to give him something. I'll tell you a little story. There was this little girl, she came from America, she and her mama. And I went over to look for them. So the little girl had peanuts eating. And while she was eating her peanut, I said, could you give me one of your peanuts? She said no. But you know what happened? One of the peanuts fell out of her hand and dropped on the ground. And I bent up to pick up the peanut. Oh, it excited her so much. You should hear her. Whoa, watch a little dog, watch a little dog. And you know what happened? She started dropping peanuts one at the ground. And every time I take it up, it fascinated her that I was a dog picking up the peanuts. And you know what I did? I ate off all the peanut that she threw. When she realized that the peanut done, she put on a piece of balling and run to her mommy that I ate off her peanut. And I told her mother that she was calling me dogs, and dogs eat crumbs that fall to the ground. So this Lazarus, he desired even crumbs that fall from the rich man's table. Yet the rich man plays a blind eye to this poverty-stricken man. Here's the hardest part of it. The Bible said that even dogs lick his sore. No, get serious now. He's unable to move. The only thing he had his good brain. And dogs, you know dogs. You hear about them biting up people in Jamaica? Sure. And dogs would come and lick his sore. Lick his sore means they'll take their tongue and lick his sore. And he's unable to run them because he is sick and poverty. It is so pitiful to think that human being could have gone to that stage, and just right upstairs there was a wealthy man. No wonder why the Bible didn't call his name. A rich man. And this was what was happening. His sores were being licked. Here's something now. This must have been miserable for him. For you to sit and to see dog licking your sore, it must have made life miserable for him. And listen again. And he was unable to do nothing about it. I'm going to tell you something, friends. There's so much liberty people take with us. They lick our sores. They hurt us with their words. And because of the love we have for God, and because of the Holy Spirit that dwells within us, it makes us unable to do anything. And we still sit there and we don't murmur, and we don't try to take any offense. That's what God does in our lives. But God promised one day to reward every man who lives like Lazarus. Here is something now. The time came where Lazarus died. And guess what? The rich man also dies. Life and its struggle ends with the destiny of death. So even if you're running down the whole world of money to make yourself a rich man, can I call a rich man name? Yeah, I'm going to call it Bush Stewart. Gordon Bush Stewart. He died sometime last week. Look at Gordon Bush Stewart. He had the world in his hand. Yet he represent not necessarily this rich man, but he represent a rich man with all his wealth. He died. You know a lot of them. Sean Connery died last year with all his wealth. He died. But just when you think you could say, yeah, see what happened to rich man, evil, the poor man too, evil, the poor man too, the beggar that sits at the gate of the rich man, even he too dies. So death in this life is the end of man's destiny one day. So let's look at this. No matter how you live, no matter how you live, no matter how you did not live, one day, and sometimes I'm so afraid myself. But with Jesus in my heart, I know one day, my life, the destiny of my life here is heading for death. So here is the thing. Live good, you still die. Live bad, you still die. But here is the thing. The Bible tells you clearly that it will happen. But God make a promises of there's another life after death. So if you live good and you die with that hope, then you'll have that hope. So let's look at the rich man now. I have a lot of money. Nothing is wrong with that. But if I don't believe that there's going to be another life after this one, then the fool and his money will depart into the lake of fire. If I am poor and I still don't believe, likewise I'll be there. But oftentimes, if the rich man believe in the life after death, if the poor man do, then they'll inherit it. But here's the thing. Jesus make it that he was going to raise Lazarus from the dead, to make sure that those persons who are living with that hope after death, that it can happen. Jesus went and he rose Lazarus from the dead. And when he rose Lazarus, he rose him specifically to prove to you and I that it's going to happen. Let me tell you, friends, when Jesus was on earth, he left us with a thing that is called faith. You would not need faith if you know what tomorrow brings. If you know what tomorrow next year is going to bring, you would not need faith. But because you don't know what tomorrow brings, Jesus leaves a thing with you that is called faith, so that faith can take you through tomorrow. Now, my friends, God rose Lazarus from the dead. That's the evidence that he can do it. So I know that if it takes another 1,000,000 years, my faith in raising Lazarus tells me that one day there's going to be a resurrection and Jesus is going to raise me back from dead. But in this life and all its opportunity, it's heading for one place, the grave. So the rich man dies and the poor man dies. If you live and you died with no hope of a resurrection, I believe to myself that you're an idiot. And when I use the word idiot, it means that you are incapable of making a sensible decision for Jesus Christ. The poor man dies, and he dies with an unfulfilled hope. Let's stop for a while here. If you believe that one day you will die, which is clear evidence that you're going to die one day, and if you died without no hope, and the hope should come to pass when you died, you're resurrected. You've been resurrected to see the thing. How would you look? You look same like this man, a rich man. But when you died with a hope that is not fulfilled, and when it's fulfilled, you would say, "Lo, this is my God to whom I have long waited for." So here it is. When they died, the parable said that the poor man went into the bosom of Abraham, and the rich man went into hell. In other words, the Greek word there for that is Hades. He went to the grave. But to be honest with you, they both went into the grave. When Jesus was on the cross, he was crucified between two malefactors. In other words, two thieves. One was on his left, the other one was on his right. When the moment of death approaches the three men, the one on his left said to him, "Why not save yourself? Save my friend, and let's get down on the cross." The one on the right says, "Lord, remember me when thou comest in paradise." And at that minute Jesus turned to him and Jesus said to him, "Today you shall be with me in paradise." That day, neither the thief or none of the thief, they were all going to their grave, including Jesus. But Jesus was guaranteeing a hope to the one on his right, that when he come back into his Father's kingdom, that he will have paradise. Here, the poor man was in Lazarus, he was in Abraham's bosom, clearly signifying that paradise will be his. The rich man, he was in hell. And you know the story. He murmured and he complained, but that time it was too late. Let me tell you something, friends. I'll tell you a story in closing. I remember when I studied evangelism. When I graduated as a young budding evangelist, there was some other young evangelists. And we were told that there was a brother somewhere who was dying. And so they called me to accompany the others. I knew the guy very well. I knew the man very well. When I knew him, he was weighing probably about 300 pounds. He had a big voice. You could stay about a mile and hear him. I remember one time I asked him for a contribution towards church building. And when he rolled out his voice at me, "I want to take my money, can I go keep past?" It was such like thunder. And he didn't give me. But that's okay. So when I went to look for him, when I got into the room, I was stunned when I saw him. He wasn't weighing 300 pounds anymore. He was weighing like probably 50 pounds. I was shocked. But when I saw his eyes, they were glassy. I realized too that he was blind. He lost almost all his weight. You know what was very frightening again too? His legs were twisted up, bent up, like his body was all bent up. And they told me that he could not hear. So here he was. He lost his weight. The only thing he had a good voice. But he could not see us, he couldn't hear us, and he couldn't walk. Let me tell you, my friend, it frightens me to see what this life has done to a man who was so up, vibrant, big, and powerful, and to see where he was. I am saying that, friend, in this life, you don't know what's going to happen to you. Let's use up every ounce and inch of the opportunity that the Lord gives us to make ourselves comfortable by living somewhere, and make our minds comfortable that this world is not our home. We're pilgrim passing through. Jesus has gone to prepare a place for us. Let's continue every day with the opportunities of life. So you know what happened, friend? My colleagues, they were singing for him, but I wasn't singing because singing wouldn't help. Opened my mouth to say nothing, it wouldn't help, because he would not hear and he would not see us. But you know what frightens me, friend? All he kept on saying, to this day, he scares the hell out of me. He kept saying with a loud voice, "Dumas of God, no make Satan fool them. Look how he fooled me. Dumas of God, no make Satan." And he kept saying it, saying it, saying it, saying it, that even in my whole heart, I was scared. You know what happened, friends? He realized that he's not going to be in the kingdom of God. He realized that his place is going to be in the torment of fire. And so he did not see himself going into eternity. But he prayed God that we would not go in eternity. He came to that realization. But the realization that he would have come to, if he could have heard me, I would have told him, it's not too late for you. Right now, you go into eternal damnation, not because God doesn't want to help you, but because you would not want to accept Jesus. I want to tell him, I want to say, my friend, just reach out right now, right on your bed for Jesus. But he could never hear. And no matter what we said, he bound himself to eternal destruction. He lived a wretched and a poor life, yet he was a man with a whole lot of wealth. But now wealth failed him and everything failed him. And he lies on his bed and he prayed. He prayed for me. He prayed for all of us. He recognized in that state that there is a God to be served. He recognized in that state that there is hope, but he doomed his own self to hell. And he died. My friends, I can't tell you where he will spend his eternity, but I can only tell you the story. Friends, the opportunity every day is given to us. When we wake in the morning, it's another day of opportunity for us to make our wrongs with our God right. It's another day of opportunity to live good with our neighbors, with friends, with anybody we meet. It's another day of opportunity where we can make our physical life well-being. It's another day of opportunity where we can go jogging. It's another day of opportunity where we can buy a different bed. It's another day of opportunity where we can lay down, relax, enjoy what we have worked for. It's another day of opportunity when we and our children, our grandchildren will live good until that point comes when life will take us to our destiny in death. But there's another way out. I implore you today, my friends, and from my whole heart too, believe me from my heart, I believe. And if I live and when I die, I want to die with this unfulfilled hope that one of them days Jesus is going to come back to earth again. And he's going to call me from the grave. He's going to call all of us from the graves. And with all the saints victorious, we'll go marching into his kingdom. My friend, let us make use of the opportunity. Let us live good with one another. Let's make that opportunity and make Jesus Christ our Lord. And in the next life to come, we will all go home to live with him. I am Steve Wright, just wishing you all the best and Godspeed.